Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 07:15 a.m. Note: if you did not order our CD-ROM, please save this tutorial to your computer using Acrobat Reader's commands in the toolbar above so you won't need to download again. Jurisdictionary presents Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D. All rights reserved. 816 Dolphin Drive, Stuart, Florida 34996. Toll free. 866 Law Easy. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 07:15 a.m. 2. Table of Contents. Table of Contents. 2 Maxims of Common Law. The light of liberty's lamp. 4 Primary principles of common law. 7. Liberty to all but preference to none. 7. The safety of the people is the supreme law. 9. The safety of the people cannot be judged but by the safety of every individual. 10. Legitimacy of government. 11. Unjust is state power where the law is either uncertain or unknown. 11. The state should be subject to the law, for the law creates the state. 13. The judge who decides a case without hearing both parties, though his decision be just, is himself unjust. 14. Courts of justice are for the common people to command the power of the state. 15. The burden. 16. The burden of proof lies on him who asserts the fact, not on him who denies it, because from the very nature of things a negative cannot be proof. 16. Testimony and evidence. 17. No one should be believed in court except upon his oath. 17. Courts should not believe water runs upward of its own accord nor that impossibilities exist. 18. The certainty of a thing in court arises only from making the thing certain in court. 20. Civic duty of citizens. 21. Each should use his own powers and property so as not to unjustly injure others. 21. Private property. 22. There is nothing more sacred, more inviolate, than the house of every citizen. 22. Every home is a castle, though the winds of heaven blow through it, officers of the state cannot enter. 23. Title is the right to enjoy possession of that which is our own. 24. Civil rights. 25. No one should be required to betray himself, i.e., no one should be made to testify against himself. 25. Everyone should be presumed innocent until his guilt is established beyond a reasonable doubt. 26. No one should be twice harassed for the same offense. 27. Administration of justice. 28. He who slices the pie should be last to take a piece. 28. Judicial reasoning. 29. Words should be considered only as commonly understood and not with a meaning others construe to their own purpose. 29. Words should be interpreted most strongly against him who uses them. 30. Crime and punishment. 31. He who acts in pure defense of his own life or limb is justified. 31. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D. All rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 07:15 a.m. 3. Crimes are more effectually prevented by the certainty than by the severity of punishment. 33. Perjured witnesses should be punished for perjury and for the crimes they falsely accuse against others. 34. Conclusion. 35. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 07:15 a.m. 4. Maxims. The light of liberty's lamp. Maxims are brief statements of self-evident truth. Maxims of common law explain what's fair and right, and therefore just. Maxims are self-evident truth that control our courts, our legislatures, and every consideration of mankind that seeks what's fair and best for all. Courts that do not honor or consider these maxims are not just. Indeed, Whether and to what extent these common law maxims are honored by public leaders is how we test the way they administer the law to govern us. We the people are protected by the fundamental principles of justice and fair dealing set forth in these simple statements that every schoolchild should be taught to practice for the sake of peace. Common law is built on these truths that promote the spirit and practice of fair dealing and the unbiased administration of justice. Without the legal enforcement of these truths, there can be no justice or right dealing between us. Of hope of getting our courts to do what's right by enforcing our contracts or making those who injure us pay damages. Our courts are established primarily to enforce these principles of common law. It is the common law that's common to us all. This is the law that never changes and never should be changed by legislation or the arbitrary rule of tyrants motivated by what's good for the interests of a favored few. This is the law that's all for one and one for all, the American way. The common law expressed by these maxims is for the common good. It is, after all, the common good that is the heartbeat of our American heritage. The simple sayings of common law maxims evolved over many centuries as men and women of goodwill struggled against the hateful tyranny of monarchies and pirates to establish governments dedicated to protect them from the abuses of those who would use the law to their own private ends. With the advent of printing presses, people were Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 05 7:15 a.m. 5. Better able to communicate across political boundaries, and there began to develop an increasing general awareness that governments had duties to the governed. Interests of individuals needed to be protected. Partiality toward persons with power needed to be removed. Law to protect the common welfare needed to be established, not only in the form of philosophies but in the very offices of government where the force of military might was seated. Gradually, over a period of many centuries and at the expense of many lives and private fortunes, government power was required to submit to the common law of the people, i.e., the people's law. This book is about that law. Simple law, self-evident law, principles we all should embrace and teach our children. For example, one maxim states, "A thing similar is not exactly the same." Who could disagree? It's self-evident, as are all maxims. Another says, "Water does not run uphill of its own accord, nor should courts believe otherwise." These statements set essential limits on truth and are essential to the fair and efficient administration of justice according to the common law of mankind. No right-thinking person can disagree with a maxim. Every court is bound by the common law rules of equity established by the never-changing maxims. Maxims are among the self-evident truths Thomas Jefferson mentioned in our Declaration of Independence. Maxims are the light of liberty's lamp. Maxims test those who judge and put an absolute limit on those who rule. If everyone knew the maxims of common law, our world would be a far better place. Maxims are our common law heritage. Their truths bind us together as a people. Here the hope of happiness for future generations will survive, for here are bedrock truths upon which we can all agree and by which we can secure for ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty and justice for all. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 05 7:15 a.m. 6. Use these maxims to get your way in court and to command your legislators and other officers of government to do what's right. Maxims are truth on which justice must forever stand to lift her precious lamp. Let their light shine. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D. All rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 05 7:15 a.m. 7. Primary principles of common law. Liberty to all but preference to none. This maxim explains that liberty belongs to each of us equally. As stated in our Declaration of Independence, we each have God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But none has more of these rights than any other. God gives to each by the same measure. There is no preference to any. This being so, our courts are obligated to protect our liberties accordingly. Each of us is entitled to equal treatment under law. None is entitled to any privilege denied to others, absolutely none. This maxim is the soul of our American legal heritage, for it was in America the concept was first given its fullest recognition. None has a greater claim to live free. No king, no priest, no celebrity, no judge, not any person has any greater right to walk free than any lowly carpenter, plumber, or law-abiding street minstrel. We are all equals in the sight of our law. Of course, if we violate the obligations and responsibilities that arise from the privileges our laws provide, then we may lose our liberties. If we murder, lie, or steal, we are in violation of law, and the law has a remedy. Our courts can take our liberty away. If we refuse to love our neighbors as ourselves, the law can limit our liberties or even to take our life if the crime is sufficiently outrageous. But, so long as we obey the law, we are at liberty to love, to live, to laugh, and to enjoy all the benefits life has to offer any other human soul, regardless of our heritage, financial circumstance, or political advantage. The right to liberty does not grant a right to take what others have. The right to liberty does not grant a right to demand material wealth. The right to liberty is a power to do with our own lives whatever we may choose to do, using whatever we have at hand to accomplish our goals, but it does not give us the right to take from others. It does not give us the right to lie about others. It does not give us the right to limit the liberties of others just because we don't like their opinions or the way they dress or the things they say. The right to liberty is the right to obey laws and while obeying laws to live free from interference by the state or others. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D. All rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 05 7:15 a.m. 8. Liberty is a great privilege, so the obligations and responsibilities that go with liberty are also great. We in this nation risk losing our liberties because we too often are unwilling to fight for the liberties of others and too quick to grant special privileges. We share an obligation and responsibility to protect our neighbors from the exercise of unlawful power. Justice for all, privilege for none. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 05 7:15 a.m. 9. The safety of the people is the supreme law. One problem societies face is not knowing how to judge their laws. What is the principle? How do we recognize good laws as good, and bad laws as bad? The maxims give us answers. Man's laws must submit to higher laws. The supreme law is that all laws must promote the people's safety. Any law that fails to promote the safety and well-being of the people is a bad law. For example, suppose your state passed a law that authorized a particular company to transport dangerous substances in flimsy containers, and as a result people were injured. Such a law does not promote the people's safety. According to this maxim, such a law would be illegal pursuant to the supreme law. Since good laws promote the people's safety, any law that fails to promote the people's safety is an illegitimate exercise of state power. The people's safety comes first. The prosperity of any particular industry, individual, or minority subculture within society is never more important than the safety of all peoples, and any law that promotes the prosperity of a single industry, individual, or subgroup within society to the detriment of the people themselves is illegal because it violates the supreme law that the people's safety comes first. Too many private interest groups, political action committees, and lobbyists succeed in getting legislatures to enact laws that favor a few but are bad for people in general. The proponents of these laws argue that their private interests deserve a break or that the selected few are somehow more important than the many. These arguments violate the maxim. Laws these people seek to enact are illegal, because the people's safety is the supreme law. All laws that violate this maxim are bad laws and should be repealed. Maxims of Common Law. Copyright 2005 by Frederick Graves, J.D., all rights reserved. Version the 10th of November 05 7:15 a.m. 10. The safety of the people cannot be judged but by the safety of every individual. This maxim teaches us where individual rights come from. Since the safety of the people is the supreme law, this maxim tells us how to judge the safety of the people. It's not just the safety of the majority that counts. It is the safety of every single one of us, individually. If a law is bad for any innocent individual, it is bad for all. Suppose your state passed a law making it a crime to have blue eyes. Brown-eyed people are in the majority, about 3-1, so the majority could conceivably pass a law making it unlawful to have blue eyes. Some scientific evidence might prove that blue-eyed people are more likely to commit crime, so brown-eyed folks could condemn blue-eyed people to death. After all, majority rules, or does it? In civilized societies where maxims are upheld, the majority is prevented by the principles of maxims from wounding the minority. Maxims teach us that every individual must be safe or society itself is not safe. This principle protects minorities from the majority. These truths need to be taught to every generation. They protect us all from the abuse of law that always results where such truths are hidden from the people. The maxims teach that only by evaluating the safety of every individual can we gauge the safety of society itself. It's good to support legislation to protect minority groups and individuals from being invidiously discriminated against by society's laws, but until we use our maxim power, we are merely fighting political battles. Politics alone cannot make the world safe for individuals. The needs of individuals and minorities must be protected not only for the sake of individuals and minorities but for the sake of society in general. This is self-evident truth, and it is expressed by this maxim. The safety of society cannot be judged but by the safety of every individual. If anyone, however insignificant he or she may seem, is being unfairly wounded by our laws, then those laws are wrong and should be repealed at once. The power of maxims outweighs the imperatives of the majority. If any law unfairly wounds just one innocent person, that law violates this maxim, and the law should be changed.